Good afternoon, everyone. The World Championships have started. Are you excited? I'm certainly excited. Did you get up this morning and watch the 20K road race? If you did, then you're a true track and field fan. I did. I was in and out of sleep. I got to be honest with you, but it was a spectacular race. I'll get into that. There's a lot of things happening already, and I want to touch on these things before we get to the evening session. The Jamaicans have already made some errors when it comes to the mixed 4x4 relay. We have to talk about that. Certainly, a lot of questions there, right? Good to see people like Ryan Krauser out there. Given what we know, there's a lot of athletes that are missing. Some more recent athletes missing. We've got confirmation that it looks like I think Mu is in Budapest and likely to run the 800 meters. But the show is on the road. It didn't get off to the start we wanted in terms of the morning session, and I'll get to that as well. There was a rain delay, which potentially I imagine could have an impact on the likes of Sifan Hassan, who is taking on the 10,000 meter final this evening, where she'll go up against Gidi and Segai. And so let's get into that. But first, I want to start by welcoming you to the channel. Thank you for joining me. And it's your show. We're going to get into it. Anything you want to talk about, put it up on the screen. We'll definitely get to it. And we'll ride this wave all the way into the evening session, where I'll try to do a couple of previews before we get to enjoy the rest of the track and field. It's always a pleasure to see track and field on the global stage, and none more so, nothing bigger than the World Championships this year, and I'm very excited. But I want to start off by talking about the first gold medal handed out at the World Championships today, in 2023 World Championships in Budapest, and that goes to the 20K race walk. And I have to be honest with you, this already busted my predictions. And so Martin with a world lead won, followed by Karlstrom and Bofim from Brazil. So a fantastic performance there. The Swede coming in second, and the Brazilian taking the bronze medal. I don't know how many people had it in that order. When I did my predictions last week, if you were on the show, you would have noticed that I had the Yaminishini to win. Ultimately came 24th, so that's talks about how much I know about race walking. Also, Ikeda had as a medalist, and up to about 15K was still in the race. I think he was leading up to that point. Not quite sure what happened because I was in and out of sleep a little bit, if I'm being honest with you. And then Stano didn't finish the race, and so my prediction got busted there. But first gold medal out, good performance over race walking. I don't know how many people enjoy race walking, but it's a fantastic sport, I imagine. I believe if you're a serious track and field fan, this is something you also wanna take part in and watch. So that's the first gold medal handing out on the road, in a sense. The first track medal tonight, obviously, is the women's 10,000 meter final, which is exciting, and we'll talk about that. I previewed that last week, but I also will preview it again. But let's get into the morning session. So the morning session started, but it didn't start when we were supposed to see it. So I imagine if you're living on this side of the hemisphere, East Coast, North America, and so on, you didn't miss much if you didn't get up early, because there was an hour delay due to rain, torrential downpour there in Budapest, which things got off to a bit of a shaky start there. But all in all, it started. So I want to talk about some of the results that happened today and get your thoughts. How you're feeling about what's going on. And I want to start off with the men's shot put. Men's shot put, exciting times for men's shot put. And before I get into the results, many of you would have seen the post from Ryan Krauser, the world record holder, the greatest of all time for many, certainly the greatest for my mind. And Krauser putting out a post saying in recent weeks he has been suffering from some blood clot issues. And so for them, it was a last minute decision about whether or not he would have been participating. So they had a discussion with a doctor, the type of treatment they've been doing, and Krauser managed to participate. And so it was encouraging to see him there. He only needed one throw, So for the men's shot put, if we go through some of the results, what we realized today, only 7 men managed to reach the automatic qualification of 21.4 meters. And so yeah, good results there. So we start with group A, and so the Brazilian Romane way out there, 22.37, excellent kind of a throw. So he's back in good nick, moving him up on the list for this year as well. We had Weir qualifying from Group A as well. Gil, Krauser. Krauser only needed 1 throw to get over the mark. So not quite sure what kind of shape Krauser is in, but he's such an impressive athlete that hopefully, as long as none of those things interfere with him in terms of the medical problem, he should be able to come back out later and try to see if he can get in for a medal. We also saw the likes of Campbell from Jamaica there, he needed the last throw in order to get into the qualification spot. So he had a 20.83 throw for Ginger Campbell, which a lot of people probably don't know about. He burst on the scene this year in terms of, throwing that new Jamaica national record over 22 meters. And, he was struggling early, and on his last throw, he managed to get up into position and got a small cue here to get into the final. And we can also look at the Group B as well to see what's happening there. We had a number of performances there, the likes of Tom Walsh, who I think is a potential medalist, Joe Kovacs as well. I think if I were to permit me to go back quickly to Group A, and I forgot to talk about this, maybe the biggest disappointment this morning of the men's shot put would have been the failure of Josh Awutundi, the bronze medalist from Eugene last year, his failure to qualify for the World Championships, only managing a throw of 19.98 meters. So certainly way below his potential. So the United States can't clean sweep the way they did with the same men. They do have 3 men in the final because obviously Krause, as the defending champion, they were allowed to bring 4 persons in the competition. And so that's sad if you had Josh on your radar for a medal, but he's out of the competition. And so if we can quickly look at the summary of the athletes going into the final, it looks as if we're going to end up with, once again, a lovely mix of athletes there, high level competition, Olympic champion, former world champion there in the likes of a Joe Kovacs. We also have a number of athletes who have medaled before, Tom Walsh and so on. And I'll get to that. But thank you, everybody, for joining me. I'm just doing a morning session recap, a quick preview, obviously, of this evening events. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe, like button, notification bell, because I'm going to be live all week. I'm going to be live again this evening after the evening session is over. And I'll try to be live every day of the championships leading up. And so if you want to have a discussion, if you want to talk about your own predictions, what you're seeing there, anything you want, drop them on the screen. I'll put them on, drop them in the comment section. I'll definitely put them on screen, and we'll have a good time talking about track and field. Right, so back to the men's shot put. Just a quick summary before we get out of here. And just to see where we are in terms of the results. If we can get it up on the screen, thank you. And so the summary of the shot put is Tom Walsh. I'd like to go to the summary if you can. And so Walsh there, Joe Kovacs, and I think we're moving beyond the summary. I think I need to go back to, let me just shift it real quickly. Right, okay, so the summary going on. Thank you. So Romani there at 22.37 leads everybody. We're in second, 21.8. So only Romani went over 22 meters, and the likes are there. So I think we'll see what happens. I think it would be good. I don't know if the Jamaican guy, I know there's a lot of Jamaican people, will be able to. They were excited about this guy, but look, he made the final. I think. Welcome all in the game. I'll get to your first comment in a second. Yeah. He must be disappointed. I watched the first couple of efforts and it didn't look as good. I don't know your thoughts on it, but coming out in the third and final when the pressure was on, he managed to get himself to a 20.83. as you know, the great Alex Ferguson soccer used to say, or football, you know, squeaky bum time. He had to really sit on the bubble there to see whether or not he would qualify, but he managed to get into the final. You know, first major championship for this guy, and so I would think he would be in a space of, look, I made it. I can't afford to make those mistakes. So coming out, he has to get a big throw, try to get a massive throw, and get himself automatically into the last round, so you can get a further 3 throws. So I'm excited. I think men's shot put us in a good place. I just hope that Krauser isn't too bad. But if Krauser manages not to medal, you know, to come to a championship knowing that you're, you know, have to be on some medication, you have blood clots. Yeah, it's not always a good thing. But I think, you know, the big man probably is still my favorite. We'll see what happens there. Since you mentioned it all in the game, we'll just go to this real comment right here. Jamaica and the mixed 4x4 relay. So we could put up some results of the mixed 4x4 in a second here, and we can talk about what's going on. I'm very disappointed. I don't know what what your thoughts on this. People, let me know. There's excuses around. And the number one thing I have to say, there is no way that you would say to yourself going into this 2-heat setup that the Jamaicans would not make the mixed 4x4. So I don't understand what's going on. And let me start by saying that protest, nonsense. No one can tell me otherwise. I don't even know why they were protesting. The woman coming across didn't really do much to unsettle Gould. That's inexperience. I don't think she occupied the space as strong enough that she needed to, you know. And you know, yes, she came across her, but it's minimal for my liking. And yeah, outside of the medals, 3:14.05, outside of the qualification standard, and you know, it was a good start in my estimation by oh my god, what is his name is slipping me right now. The lead off of Gay, yeah, Demish Gay, pretty decent. I think only probably 2 other people ran faster on the leg. And then Gould 53 on a second leg of a 400 meters, unacceptable in any standard. Why is she running the 400 meters? I don't really know. It's not like she's a Tingmu level type of speed. And Malik James King, I don't know, you know, he also didn't offer much. And you know, Williams accredited herself well, I imagine. But as you say, all in the game, I think what's your comment here? Those two had no real reason to be out there, and that is terrible. There's no other ways I can talk about it. I can't mince it in any other way, and so on. What is this? Some people are trying to blame. I don't think that is garbage. Anybody blaming Demish Gay, I don't really necessarily think that's a serious comment, unless the guy did enough to put her in a position that she should have. Any second leg runner could have capitalized on that. So there is some organization issues and a lot of answers. I saw a clip of a post-race interview where clearly they were bamboozled, flabbergasted, whatever word you want to use. They didn't know what was going on, and they had to be coming up with some excuses on the spot. And then this idea of protesting the athlete, yeah, I don't buy that at all. Yeah, good performance by the US and Great Britain in the other heat, in heat 1 of the mixed 4x4. I thought it was a lovely leg there by Great Britain as well. So I think both of those teams should be on the medal podium. So my guess is it's going to be coming down between the United States, Great Britain, and the Netherlands for the medals. If let me just, yeah. So the US in heat 1 was at what? It was like 3:10, 3:11. I think that was a national record, if I'm not mistaken, for Great Britain. So both of those teams are looking really good. I think the mixed 4x4 relay tonight will be excited. It's disappointing if you're a Jamaica fan, you know, because they didn't do well enough there. Let me get to some of your comments, because obviously I want to get to your comments and so on. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's an unbelievable split. That might be the fastest split for a GB athlete, right? A woman athlete, and we'll see. Gabby versus Femke on the anchor. That would be special to see. I mean, that would be a nice setup. It's going to be good. I don't think Femke really did anything today. She just, it was pretty easy for her, and so on. Yeah. Oh, I think I misread your thing there, all in the game. Now that I'm looking at the thing, you mean Josh? Yeah, I thought you meant the Jamaican guy. I apologize. Sometimes I'm trying to look at the different screens I'm not seeing. Yeah, he's definitely disappointed there. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing out there, and he's certainly much better than that. All right, yeah. Yeah, so that's where we are with the mixed 4x4, since all in the game brought it up. Yeah, what are your thoughts there? The Jamaicans have a lot of explaining to do. I think the team, the coaching structure I need some explanation. I don't know why we had an 800-meter runner running the second leg. I don't know if I want to get controversial. Is this the Alex Felix kind of move where you want to see if you can give the likes of a Gould a medal at the major championships? Is that it? I don't really know, but it's unacceptable that you can have the depth of talent that they have and not perform better. And King was just awful as well. Both of those people need to question themselves in terms of the performance there. So yeah, that's where we are for that. And yeah, we can move along quickly as well to talk about. So those were the failure for them to advance. The 3,000 meters, everything looked as planned to me. I don't, one of the things that occurred here, and we can get to this as well when we discuss the 1,500 meters. As many of you know, we're in a new situation here with World Athletics where we no longer are doing fastest losers or fastest qualifiers, rather, when it comes to the distance event. So there's a set number of people who qualify, and that's all you have to do is to make it into those top positions. And in the case of the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase, it's the first 5 from each heat that qualified. And Wale looked unbothered in my estimation. 8:19, 99, not particularly anywhere exerting much energy there. So it looks good, and I'll just jump through a couple of these results real quickly, and we can move on to the second one. I think Rooks look really good. El Bakali didn't even look like he woke up this morning. Both of them, finishing same time, just separated by 1,000 of a second. So easy qualification for the Olympic champion and defending champion too, and the man who I think knows how to get on the medal podium. And then in heat 3, Lemaitre Germa, the new minted world record holder, also pretty easy qualification. So I didn't see much in the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase to make me unbothered. All the important individuals that will be fighting out for the medals, I think they're all in good position here, and we'll look forward to seeing that. Let me get back to some comments before I continue the wrap up of the show of the morning session. And if you're just joining me, thank you. Hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you get your comments in. Only All in the Game saying things on the thing. I like All in the Game, but I know there's other people there. What happened to Rasheen? I don't know the answer to that. Are they making him run the flat 400 now, right? Didn't they do that? I think he's listed for that now. I have to check again, but I think they made a late decision on that, right? If someone can check on that for me, I think that's what happened. So maybe that's why they didn't put him there. Or if they didn't, they were waiting to put him in the final, which also doesn't make much sense to me. So it's unfortunate. I often thought that was going to be a sure medal, or at least a competitive, maybe not a sure medal, but definitely in the mix for a medal, and not to be in the final, unacceptable. All right, so that's thanks again for everyone. I'll be back again tonight, after the evening session. So that was the morning session with the men's 3,000 meters. Let's move along and talk about some other events from the morning. And let me just pull back up my my thing here because I have a number of things open. So men's steeplechase, I covered that. I want to talk briefly. Let's talk about, since we're in the distance running, let's talk about the women's 1500 meters. I might be giving my producer a little hard time because it's not in the order we discussed the show. But let's quickly talk about the women's 1500 meters. We saw the likes of some really important people here. And the first heat, let's talk about the first heat. Sifan Hassan, who, as you know, I'm a very fond of Sifan Hassan, one of the all-time greats in distance running. 15, 5, 10, now marathon. And Sifan Hassan is attempting to do what I still think is a suicidal attempt of doing these 3 events given the schedule. And before we get into the result today, tonight Sifan has to come back and run the 10,000 meter final. Now she has an hour less rest time because of the late start there today in Budapest because of rain. But she comfortably wins her first heat in a time of 4 minutes 2.92. So didn't exert much energy, I thought. She was at the back of the pack. That's how Sifan likes to run these races. Did a little bit at the end to come up and comfortably get into pole position and won the race, beating out Laura Muir, who also I thought looked really well. And so we're in a stage of, as I said, in the 3,000 meters, and I'm just repeating this if you're new to the new results that's going on. It's an automatic qualification system once you meet that standard. We're not messing with times when it comes to the distance running. And so for the heats of the 1,500 meters, it was the first 6 to qualify. Now, at the same time that happens, before I break down all of that, what did we see here? What happened with this was the first time we introduced the system, we realized that, and when we get to the last couple of heats, we'll see that the likes of Vessa and O'Sullivan would have missed out because their times were 7th and 8th in heat 3, but they didn't advance, and that time would have been good enough to win the other 3 heats. So that also is something there. So they might be kicking themselves there, and I'll get to that in a second, but remind me to talk about that. And so that's the first heat. Sifan safely, comfortably through, but the biggest thing for the day is that she has to come back tonight and vie for that 10,000 meter spot, and we'll talk about that. Second heat of the women's 1,500 meters, I think, was with the world record holder, Faith Kipyegon. Beautiful runner, 3 world records this year, the odds-on favorite to win the 1,500 meters, comfortable as well. The Ethiopian is there. I mean, all the notable people are there. There's nothing to really talk about. Top 6 goes through, wins it in 4 minutes 2. We can move on to the third semifinal, the third heat rather, and same 4 minutes flat there. But this is where the problem goes. So if you look down and you see the likes of Vessa and O'Sullivan running 4:01 and 4:02, they're not making it into the semifinal because it's the top heat. It's the top 6 athletes that make it through. And so they may be kicking this new system. It's the first casualty of the new system where we no longer rely on fastest qualifiers to go through. So that's unfortunate for them. I think Sinclair Johnson ran well for the United States to qualify, and that was a particularly fast heat. And it's unfortunate if you are Vessa and O'Sullivan that you're not going to be able to make it into the next round, fully knowing that your time would have won the other heats. So it's tough there, but I actually do like this new system of 6 automatic qualification because it creates too much of a complication, I think, for the athletes, particularly in distance running. Let me know your thoughts on that. You think it's unfair to these 2 athletes that they didn't make it out of the semifinal, didn't make it out of the heats because they didn't come in the top 6. But it forces you to definitely make it into the top 6. So thanks again, everybody, for joining me. Let's get to the final heat. That also was a good run out for these athletes. The top 6 there. Hirut, I think, again, looked good. Jessica Hull as well, and even Adele Tracy there from Jamaica sneaking up into 5th position, earning a qualification spot. And so top 6 you go through, nothing much there. I still think the likes of Faith Kipyegon way above everybody. She should win it in a canter. We'll see as we progress into the semifinal round. All right, cool. So I'm enjoying what I'm seeing today. Hopefully you guys are also enjoying the thing. Let's move along and talk quickly about some other events in the field. I think women's long jump, that also was good qualification for Davis-Woodall, one and done, 687, automatic qualification for women's long jump into the final. You have to get over the 680 mark. She was able to do it along with the likes of others. Ese Brume, who we know is always a good for a medal at this major stage. She didn't have an automatic qualification, but a 672 is pretty good. 2 women from Group A managed the automatic qualification, and 5 of them went through. I didn't see much there. I was trying to watch other events, so I didn't get a chance to break down everything, even though I was trying to put the long jump on the other screen, but didn't get a chance to kind of work through technique or anything like that. So if you guys saw anything and want to talk about it, feel free to do it. And in the second, in Group B, we also had a number of women as well going through. Only Vuletta with the automatic qualification. And so I don't know if the automatic qualification for women's long jump is too tough. 680. I don't know if it is. I think it's fine. Akila Smith from Jamaica also had a really good season this year at 678 qualifier as well. So number of women in the 6'7" range, 6'9" and 6'6" range. So I think the biggest casualty, and I think I should have touched on that in the previous event, would have been Burke. So Burke's, we all know Burke's is good for it as well. She didn't make it out into the next round, and so that may have been the biggest casualty there. But all in all, I think the women's long jump final should be exciting. I'm not quite sure where the gold medal is going to go. I think, again, Woodall looks good. You can't count out Vuletta, always there. I don't know if the Jamaican Smith can do something. I think Ese Brume also, even though not having one of her spectacular seasons, she tends to get to a point where, because of her experience, could get on the podium. And let me take some comments, and once again, all in the game. Want to see 8 go through to the field event finals and not 12. I actually think that's not a bad idea, right? Especially if we're trying to think about the sport as a television product and to move along, because it's often hard to think through the field events. And top 8 makes sense to me because, there's no need for this extra amount of athletes going through top 12. But this is one of those long-standing tradition. And I also wonder if it borders on some of these events in the sport where they try to keep them alive, so they extend the amount of athletes. It's the same as what we see like in the preliminary rounds of the 100 meters. At some point, we have to stop those athletes from coming to these games. That might sound controversial, but it doesn't do much for the sport when you have people running 10.6 and 10.5 in a men's 100-meter qualifier. And I know they want to broaden the sport and give them a sense of what it means to perform at the international stage, but something has to be done there. But we'll see. I agree with you. I think that it's about time. It creates this idea of you have to be ultra good to be there. The only problem with it all in the game, and I've said this before, is because track and field as a sport is just a poor person's sport. If we're being honest, when you compare to other types of sports, so it might discourage people if they can't get in there, right? So we'll see. Thanks for joining me, track and field things. They need to take special attention to selection. Selection can cost an end. What are you referring to? You're referring to the Jamaican mixed 4x4 relay, if that's what I think so. If that's a good point. Yeah. All right, but thanks everyone for joining me. The live is, don't forget to put your comments in there and your thoughts, and if you agree with what I'm saying, if you don't agree with it, I like to talk it out, so that's where we are. So That was women's long jump in a second. Oh yeah, the Jamaican mix. Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions. I haven't heard any reports from the coaching staff. If you've heard anything, let me know. I've only heard from the athletes themselves, and the excuses that they come up with doesn't seem particularly good at the moment. And this should not have happened. And I don't care what people say. And it's not about trying your best or something like that. That's going to be an argument. It's not me dissing them or anything like that. I think we know that the quality exists across the selection pool, and they should have been in a much better shape here, and that's something that they have to address. This was a final that they needed to be in, and they weren't. And especially when you think about the likes of a Dominican Republic not even showing up, it's even much more of a problematic situation, I think, for the Jamaicans. All right, so I'm excited. Hopefully, you guys are excited for the women's long jump final. I think it's golden. And if you're a Jamaica fan too, I know a lot of people on this channel tends to be Jamaican fans as well. There's something there to look forward to in the likes of Smith, and it's always good when we see the field events. I'm excited by that as well. All right, let's go back to some more results before we kind of preview some things for later on. Heptathlon started off. As you know, the defending champion isn't there in Nafitiam. She pulled out. That was it was tough. Anna Hall, to me, is the odds-on favorite going into the championship, but she doesn't look so good. And after the high jump, when she failed to get over, what was it, 1 meter 86? Was it 1 meter 86 that she failed at? If I'm not mistaken, where's Hall? She did 183, so she failed at 1 meter 86. On American television, she spoke to, what's his name, Lewis, and she's been dealing with something. She didn't quite say exactly, but coming into the championships, Hall isn't at her best. And so I don't know if this will impact her. I don't know if that will put her out of the mix of medaling. She's leading right now, but she doesn't look good. Particularly trying to get that extra step and power to pivot off to clear 186. She couldn't do it. And at first, I thought it was a situation where the track was wet. As you know, there was a lot of rain this morning, and I didn't know if she slid, but it wasn't that. She admitted that she just didn't have it. And so she's off to get some treatment. The heptathlon this year, there's a little bit more rest. They go later on in the evening today, into the evening session, and I think it's rightly so, because if you've been to these major events before, there's a lot more eyes in the stadium and a lot more eyes on television usually for the evening session. And so Hall is, hopefully she gets the treatment she needs. Brooks is in second, Hawkins third, also Katharina Johnson-Thompson, who is a fantastic athlete as well. She's been up and down with issues too. She's in the mix, so we'll see. We'll have to wait for as the progress on the heptathlon goes. But it's one of my favorite events. I really, to be honest with you, I was thinking that if Nafi was in good nick, and she was earlier this season, and Hall coming in with the kind of indoor performance that she delivered for the first time in a long time, I thought that because of high level competition, we could see athletes approaching the Jackie Joyner-Kershaw world record. I don't think that's anywhere close to be even approaching at these championships this year. So Jackie has a record for definitely another year, and we'll see. So that's that for the heptathlon. We can touch on some more of the results. I'm not quite sure what we have next on the slide, but hammer throw. All the principles are there as well. It's good to see Fidek again gunning for, what is this? It's going to be 6th title if he were to win this, but I don't think he's in the kind of shape. But you can't count out a champion like that. Some good throws. Throws over 80 meters, I guess. So when we think about the summary, Nuzwiki there as well with 78. So I'm excited for the hammer throw as well. I don't know how many people follow hammer, but we'll see. the world leading is just almost close to 82 meters. So I think if you're getting in the mix of above 80 meters here, you might be able to sneak out a medal here. And yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing that as well. All right. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, so let me know. Are you excited so far for what's going on? I want to talk a little bit. I think that's all the results I have for this morning session, if I'm not mistaken. And if not, my producer can let me know. I want to touch on a couple of things for later on because the evening session is about to start, and I don't want to take away all of your joy. Couple of things. Women. Let's talk about the big track and field event tonight. The women's 10,000 meters. I did a preview last week when we spoke about the women's 10,000 meters. And I think it's probably one that Sifan Hassan has the best chance of winning. But I don't know, right? She ran that 1,500 meters today. I think she will medal for sure. But, I think it's going to come down, obviously, to her, Gidi, and Gudev Segai. All top class athletes. We're looking at two back-to-back world record holders. At one point, it was Hassan, then Letensbent. Gidi gets the world record as well. She has a PB of 29:01. Sifan has a PB of 29:06. Then you have Segai at 29:29. So if all things go well tonight, you're going to look at three women that I think have the potential of going on the 30 minutes. So sub 30 for sure. It's just depending on where you are. There's good running that can come from Great Britain in the likes of McCullogan, the likes of Monson from the United States. I also think Cranny as well could do something. I think it's going to be a fantastic race, and I'm going on this because I think it's important if you're an avid track and field fan that you want to make sure that you watch this race. What will happen. I think there's going to be some big kicks this evening. And I think where the gold medal ultimately lands tonight is a decision on what happens with Sifan, right? Can she recover in time, cool off, and launch an attack this evening? All right, that's what I'm thinking about. But you're going to have all the medals for the World Championship, 10,000 meters. All of those people are there, right? All of those people are there. And I questioned it last week about the decision for her, for Sifan in particular, Hassan, to go for all three given the schedule. She tried this in Tokyo. It didn't work out. She fell. I don't think she's in the shape that she was in Tokyo. But we'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. If you're excited for this, let me know. But, everybody's there. All the medals, the last two World Championships came through the likes of Hassan, Gidi, and Segai. And there are other good people in the mix, but we're talking about three of the all-time greats, two former world record holders. And if you're not excited for this, and forgive me for saying this, you're not a real track fan. You have to be excited for this. All right, so that's where we are for that. All right, I want to preview one more event before we get out of here because obviously I know many of you are going to start watching the evening session, and I want to bring up my iPad here as well. There's a lot of things going on. Are you doing before I get into that? Thanks for joining me, teaching fellow Sharma. Thanks for being on the channel. If it's your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat person, welcome again. Trying to remember if you've been here before, because I try to keep. Obviously, I can't keep up with everybody that comes on the channel, but I appreciate people who join. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I'll be back tonight as well after the evening session. But let's go into the men's 100 meters and do a quick preview of the 7 heats that we'll see this evening. So first 3 go through, and then there will be 3 fastest qualifiers. So you'll get a chance to see people sitting down in the queue room. You may have seen this already depending on what kind of feed you're getting. But the queue room, as I touched on a couple weeks ago, is a new thing from World Athletics where if you're on the bubble, if you're waiting to be one of those to see if one of your times, if you're a fastest qualifier, if you're on the bubble waiting to see if you qualify for the next round, there's a specific room where you can go and have a seat, get some refreshment, and also even do some cooling down techniques while you wait, right? So there will be foam rollers there and other kind of equipment that can help athletes get back to the cooling stage. And so this evening we have 7 heats of the men's 100 meters, and I'll quickly go through a few of them here. Let me know your thoughts on who you think are qualifying. I've already had a preview of who I think will win the men's 100 meters. If you haven't seen that, it's all over the channel, so take a look at that. Let me know your thoughts there. But heat number 1, has the likes of Zarnell Hughes, who I think is a favorite for the medal podium. Definitely could win fastest time of the year. There's also Raheem Forder from Jamaica, who looked pretty good this year. Cisse as well from Cote d'Ivoire. So I think going into this heat, I suspect that it's going to be Hughes and Ford and maybe Cisse coming out of the automatic qualification here. All right. And so let's take a look at, and if you agree, let me know. If you don't agree, let me know. Let's take a quick look at heat number 2. And so in heat number 2, we have the likes of Ferdinand Omanyala, who's been running fantastically well this season, a lot of fast times. We have always talked about Omanyala as one of those athletes that's yet to deliver a super fast time without the aid of altitude. Now let's see what he can do in this championships. There's Sha'Carri. I don't think he'll factor in this race. There's also Noah Lyles, who he's saying, if you remember, Noah Lyles is saying, I can run 9.6. I'll believe it if I see it. Sometimes you have to dream well. But Lyles should go through. I also think the likes of Omanyala will automatically qualify. And, maybe, I'm not quite sure where the next person will come from, but that's going on. I think we have a quick comment here. Hughes is your favorite. Yeah, he's one of the favorites there, and thanks everybody for joining me. I think people are warming up to the live. I've been doing a review of this morning's performance, and just doing a quick look at the 100-meter heats before we all go and watch the evening session there in Budapest. All right, so that's heat 2, and heat number 3, I think, will feature the US champion. There's question marks about his fitness because we heard that he had some issues at the relay camp, but he's still there. So I'm waiting to see if he actually shows up. Hopefully he's there. That kid broke on the scene this year. But you have the likes of him there. There is the Great Britain athlete as well, who's gone sub 10 this season. And who else is in that race? Nobody else that really stands out, I think, for me. So I think this is one of the easier heats to get in, especially if the American champion isn't in as good shape. So top 3, as you know, go through. Heat number 4, let's quickly go over that as well. Likes of a Reese Prescott is there. He's, when you look at a lot of these Great Britain athletes, that their relay his team is strong. I think they had a good session. I believe the Great Britain athletes were in, I can't remember exactly where they had a relay camp this year. Someone can tell me in the chat, but I think they went someplace and they had a good time for their relay camp. Let's see Tobago. I think he can be an X factor. As you know, this 100 meters is wide open. It's very difficult to actually predict who will win. But you have the likes of let's see Tobago, Reese Prescott. I think both Tobago and Prescott will automatically qualify easily. The South African athlete, I think, also could do something as well. And then Heat 5 will feature the likes of Fred Kerley, defending champion, many people's favorite. Big talk between Fred Kerley and Noah Lyles. It also features Oblique Seville, who I thought this year would have gone even faster than Zarnell Hughes, but it seems as if Seville, had a little injuries here and there. But fourth last year at the World Championship, so he's a promising athlete. But the standouts for me in there would be obviously Fred Kerley and Oblique Seville. And if we go to Heat 6, there's the Jamaican national champion in Rowan Watson, who I predicted to to shock the world and potentially get his way on the medal podium. So I'm hoping that I can be right there. There's the Olympic champion in the heats, but he hasn't been doing much this season. Lamont Jacobs. There's Terrence Jones from the Bahamas, who I thought had a good season in college as well. Not quite sure what kind of level he might be in, given the long season, but we'll see. The Colombian has also gone sub 10 this year as well. And then the final heat will feature the likes of Christian Coleman, who hasn't quite gotten back to the kind of level since coming back from serving his whereabouts violation, but I think he could do something. He's run sub 9.8 before. He's not anywhere close to that, but I think he'll be in the mix. Obviously, I think he'll lead through these things. And that Archibald kid this morning looked good in the qualification. I don't know if he can make it through, but if he runs a PB, he'll be there. And then obviously Simbini, who's always made these major finals, should qualify quite easily. What is this all in the game? Prescott walked out of the GB relay camp after being called out for always turning up late. I actually didn't see this. Woo. So does this mean he won't be on the relay? When you leave the camp, is that it? Because I know the British guys have a strict kind of protocol when it comes to their relay camp. One of the things that they do is that when they create the relay camp, individual coaches don't show up. You can't come there because they want to create the kind of harmony and structure that they want without interference. So I don't know what this means. How did I miss this? Yeah, thanks for sharing that all in the game. I didn't realize that he walked out of the camp. So that means he's not going to participate because I think they go with what works and not necessarily if he's running fast. Imagine if he gets into the final and does creditably well. Do they put him back in the relay? We'll see. But Reese Prescott, lots of talent. He certainly has a ceiling for me, but we'll see. All right, so those are where I'm excited to see things later on. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, I think the evening session is about to start. I don't want to belabor the thing. There were some other things that happened yesterday that I didn't get a chance to touch on in the last couple of days. Smash that like button. Appreciate you on the channel. Remember, we had a number of athletes pulling out. We saw the defending champion in the triple jump, and triple jump is coming up later on as well. I'm looking forward to see what Jaden Hibbert can do, Zango and the rest. But Pichardo from Portugal, it was confirmed that he won't be there at the World Championships. He picked up an injury and didn't make it in time. We also saw NASA pulling out of the World Championships, the 400 meter relay. Not the 400 meter relay, the 400 meter athlete from Bahrain. She was coming back from suspension, but she won't be there as well. And we also got confirmation that who else pulled out? I think I had another athlete pull out. Yeah, for the Zambian Muzala Samakonga, the 400 meter athlete who went sub 44 seconds this year. He also isn't coming to the World Championship. So that adds to a long list of athletes missing this year with injuries and so on, like the likes of a Sidney McLaughlin and Nafitayim. And we could go over it. There's a bunch of athletes not here, and it's not good for the sport. But these things happen. Injuries are a part of the sport. We know that Athingmu is in Budapest, so let's hope that she turns up and showcase her performance. So yeah. The other big news that came out, and I did a quick video on it, was the news that the defending champion, the world record holder over 100-meter hurdles, Tobi Amoson from Nigeria, she was cleared by the disciplinary panel, and she will be competing. Hopefully, she's in a state of mind to compete. From everything I've gathered, she was training, and they were optimistic that she would have won the appeals process. So that means that she comes into this championship ready to defend her title, because it's going to be a tough competition with the likes of Camacho Quinn and Nia Ali, Kenny Harrison, you name it, Megan Tapper, Akira Nugent. We can list a bunch of athletes there. So Toby's there. We've talked about it. The AIU head isn't happy with the decision from the tribunal, and they are now investigating whether or not they will launch an appeals process. We don't know the details. They don't tell us exactly what's going on, but we shall see if they decide to do an appeal. But for now, the defending champion is back. Other things that we saw mulling around was the two-time Olympic double Olympic champion Elaine Thompson-Herro working with a new coach, Osborne, Shaniki Osborne, who would have had contact with her former assistant coach at MVP Track Club. She also is helping to prepare her for the rest of the season. Elaine commented on it if you saw a couple of media interviews coming out of Budapest where she talks about her working with her before, also adding her to the team because they're thinking about what's happening for the next step in preparation for the Olympic Games in Paris. And my thoughts on it, because I think I had a video, we were working on a video, but we didn't manage to put it up. My thoughts, I think this is the very first step. You know, we talked about where Elaine Thompson is, and one of the things needing for her to step up and acknowledge that the transition didn't work well. Not that moving away was a bad idea. I keep saying that, but how you moved away. And so now this is the very first step. People who I know in the sport, people who I trust in the sport, tells me that they think this is a good move. This is someone who understands her, who would have worked with her somewhat, and they're basically preparing her to manage the injuries because she's an injury-prone athlete, and her program needs to be tailored for injuries. And let's hope that this is a very first step. I still say it, and I will say it, that I think given her caliber, given the type of generational talent that Elaine Thompson-Herro is, I still think she needs to find her way to another type of setup. I know maybe that she doesn't want to leave Jamaica. I really think a Bobby Kersey would do wonders with her. I think John Smith would, but John Smith, as far as I know, might be tied to Nike out of HSI. Lance Brahman would also do wonders, but I think he's also an Adidas athlete. You have to be Adidas in order to work with him, and so I don't know where else she could go. I could name a couple other places, but I don't get to decide. But I'm happy to see this, and hopefully it works. She did say her husband is still part of the team, because I think a journalist had asked about that. So yeah, that's where we are. The evening session is about to start. Let me know your thoughts. I really appreciate everybody joining me for this live session here. It's important that we get to talk about track and field. If who you think will win tonight, let me know. Drop that in the comments before you go out. Who will win the 10,000 meter title? Is it Gide? Is it good? Is it Segai? Is it Sifan Hassan? Could it come from somebody else? So don't forget to put that in the chat as we go out. Tune in later, because we'll be back for a live wrapping up the evening session. And it's good to see everybody, and thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a little bit.